Yesterday, I completed an assessment on a house that's near a lake. And most of the time, when you look at a home that's on a lake, you've got a steep hillside. So construction choices for houses like this, you've only got two options, really. So I wanted to talk about one of the options that this homeowner used. With this house, what they did was they built the house on stilts. And you've got a real steep slope, goes right down to the water. So the back half of the house is, kind of touching the ground, and the front house is about 4 or 5 feet off the ground. And normally they use some kind of a timber piling or something like that. So there are a couple of things that happened here. One is they didn't have a vapor barrier underneath the building. And even though it's exposed to the environment, wind can move from left to right pretty easy. You still need a vapor barrier to avoid the moisture from coming up and making contact with the bottom of the house. So what they did is they put batt insulation between the floor joists, and then they put plywood. It's actually OSB board. OSB board is really susceptible to mold growth. So got down there, and they had not maintained the property for a long, long time. A lot of the OSB board had fallen away. A lot of the insulation had fallen away. So you look up and you can see the underside of the floor decking. So what you do in this situation is you really got to just go back down to bare floor joists through the whole place. So what we're going to be doing is removing the OSB board, removing the insulation, clean, remove the mold that's on the floor decking and the floor joists. They're in that area. Then we're going to reinstall the batt insulation, and you really should get the batt insulation that's like 10-12 inches thick, so that there's no airspace between the top of the batt insulation and the bottom of the floor. You really don't want to have an airspace there. So you buy the insulation that's thick enough to accommodate that. So it's paper backed. You staple it, and then you put foam board against that. And what you're supposed to do is the paper goes against the floor. When you take the board down, you shouldn't see the paper. The paper goes toward the warm side, and the warm side is always the house. You install the insulation paper toward the floor of the house, and then I suggest people put foam board because it doesn't, it gives you an extra R value, and moisture cannot penetrate through. OSB board lets moisture through pretty easy. So foam board will not do that. So it gives you an extra R value. It prevents moisture from getting up underneath the floor. And then you have the insulation above that. And then you have the vapor retardant against the floor of the house. Be sure to, as you exit, you make sure that you have installed a vapor barrier. And, with this kind of a thing, you don't have to spend a lot of money on the vapor barrier. You don't need to use a 20 or 30 mil plastic. You can just go with a 6 mil plastic, because, again, the house is on pilings, so there's air freely moving underneath. There's no skirt. At least on this house, there wasn't a skirt. So that's the proper way to deal with a house on stilts on a hillside. Bob Bennett, Farsight Management. It's better use Farsight than hindsight.